Hey guys, this is Cuban, and I wanted to talk about this replay in which I was able to basically single-handedly carry the game against the other team. And this game was kind of interesting because the Storm on their team was supposedly smurfing. Not certain whether that was true. There's some indications that that was the case, other indications that that wasn't the case based on his play, but nevertheless, that's what the enemy said at the end of the game, that Storm was smurfing. So I'm also smurfing. I'd say I'm about a mid 4K DK player, and this is a low 3K account. So anyway, a bit of Smurf versus Smurf going on, and hopefully in this video you're going to see how I'm able to basically single-handedly carry the game in spite of my team doing very poorly. Um, and I want to talk quickly now about picks, why I pick DK. I do play a lot of DK. He's my favorite hero, but I don't spam him. I don't just insta-pick him every game when it's my turn to pick. Rather, I picked him after they had picked 4 of their heroes. They had picked everything except the Storm Spirit, and at that point I felt very comfortable picking DK. I forget whether Outworld Devour was banned. Outworld is a hero I typically don't like to pick DK into. I'd say the same thing with Viper. So there was a chance that they could still pick a Viper or OD, although maybe OD was banned. So I was running that risk, but again at this MMR I wasn't real concerned. Anyway, he picked Storm, which is strange. Storm is not very strong against DK. He does okay in the lane if it's just a pure 1v1. He might be able to, get more last hits than DK, but he can't outpush the DK. He can't really stop the DK from taking his mid tower unless he gets help. And then in the late game, or mid or late game, if you can get a Dragon Tail off on Storm Spirit, then he's basically dead. So I consider it to be a favorable matchup, a very good matchup. But anyway, I picked before they had picked a Storm Spirit, so I was picking into the Shaman Techies, Jug, and Brew. And the Shadow Shaman was really a non-factor. I don't typically consider the supports when I'm picking DK, unless maybe it's an Ancient Apparition. Since AA can reduce DK's healing, and obviously DK is very dependent on healing and also armlet toggling. At least that's my style of playing DK, is buying armlet. But yeah, the Shadow Shaman was a non-factor. Techies is not much of a concern because you have so much HP, and if you think he's going to be a problem, you can always go Pipe. It's very, very hard for Techies to kill the DK then when he's pushing. But yeah, also Techies I just don't think is a very strong hero in pubs, so that wasn't a concern. Jug is decent against DK in the very early game due to his magic damage, but toward the mid and late game, once you have a ton of armor, Omni Slash does absolutely nothing. His right click is pretty frail even with his crits. And then obviously the magic damage is pretty insignificant at that point, so I would say DK versus Jug is very, very DK favored. Against Brew, he does have that mixture of physical and magic, so you have to be careful with magic. But his Brewlings die pretty easily to your splash damage, and so in that sense, I consider, I don't know, I guess I consider an even matchup. But if you can kill his Brewlings pretty quickly with your splash damage, then obviously it's going to be a problem for Brew, and we'll see kind of an example of that later on, where I'm able to get his Brewlings really low with my splash damage. And then as far as my team goes, I wasn't really factoring in my team's picks other than I did recognize that we kind of needed a tank, but I don't typically like to play DK as like the frontline tank, especially not if I'm smurfing like this. I need to be the one carrying the game. I can't be sacrificing myself for the team. So yeah, to be honest, I didn't factor in my allies picks a whole lot. I knew that I would have sniper obviously backing me up. Dark Willow's good utility hero, but the offlane invoker pick made no sense. Um, so yeah, it was just a little bit of a strange picks on our team. Anyway, let's get started. And I'm going to talk about starting items. This is my standard starting items, which was actually a mistake. I think I had this queued up before they picked Storm, and then I didn't think to sell my gauntlets of strength and get a wand, but that's a stick. That's what I should have done though. Against the Storm Spirit is gotten a magic stick, so that was a mistake I made in lane. And I make lots of mistakes in this game, and that's part of why I enjoy doing these replays, is for my own sake, to just be aware of some of the mistakes I'm making and how to improve upon them. So anyway, part of the reason I'm inclined to think that Storm was a smurf is that he's doing a pretty good job using his remnants to secure last hits. And like he made sure that he didn't lose the ranged creep there. Secured it with a last hit. And as a result of him using the static remnant, he gets level 2 faster than I do, which isn't really significant in this matchup. But what is significant is that it causes the wave to push into the tower, so that's why I got Dragon Blood first. I didn't get it because I was planning on tanking his static remnant or his right clicks or that kind of thing. Certainly you don't want to ever tank his static remnants if you don't have to. So here again, he does this to secure the ranged creep kill, which is very good. But anyway, yeah, I got the Dragon's Blood because I knew I'd be tanking the wave under the tower to make sure I could get the last hits, and that is one of the advantages of playing DK in the lane. One of the reasons I think he's strong in the mid lane is that you can tank waves, you can harass the enemy sometimes with right clicks and take minimal punishment from the creep wave, whereas with like a Puck or a Queen of Pain, that's not feasible at all. It'll lose you the lane if you do that too much. So it's almost like one element of laning is just simplified greatly by picking DK, and that's the issue of whenever I aggro creeps for a particular reason, can I handle the harass? And so anyway, at this point, might seem like I'm too low, tanked too many waves, and there were a couple, or sorry, not waves, but static remnants, and there were a couple static remnants that I didn't need to tank there, but anyway, I knew I had a salve coming out. And I have my soul ring, so I'm just going to use that to harass as much as possible. And let's see. Yeah, he has a regen rune now, so I'm going to just keep using Breathe Fire and force him to use the regen rune sooner rather than later. It's definitely a lucky rune on his part. This lane would have gone a lot worse for him if he had not gotten that. So, very nice rune for him. But I'm feeling pretty good about this lane. I'm not concerned. Part of the reason I knew that this lane would go well is that they don't have good roamers. Techies is doing Techies things, not being super useful in lane, but that's just the way techies works. And you know, Shadow Shaman's busy down there helping Jug, so you know, Shadow Shaman is a potential threat as a roamer that I could. No, I'd have to be pretty low actually for Shadow Shaman and Storm to kill me already. Like I would probably have to be at half health already if in order to die to a gank from Shadow Fiend. So I grabbed a haste rune and I ran up to the ancients because I wanted to see what ancients were up there. Because a lot of times I will stack the ancients from mid lane using Breathe Fire, but depending on what type of ancients they are, it might not work. And I tried to stack that that camp earlier actually, and it failed. So I assumed. Sometimes you have issues where just the creeps will not run out past the spawn box. I assume that's what happened. I actually watched this replay earlier, and the reason I didn't get the stack was that I just flat out, my Breathe Fire did not hit them. I just was like an inch off. So anyway, that's why, so I assumed there was like a stacking issue going on there, so I just kind of gave up on that camp and went down and stacked the other one. Definitely a mistake on my part though, messing up the stack. Really, I should be stacking. Ideally, you want to be stacking this camp because it's just so much closer than the other one. And in fact, this is, if you've ever seen my stacking video, you know that this is far and away the hardest camp to stack just because it's so far away. Or I should say it's the least convenient to stack. It is also the hardest to time actually, but anyway, so now I'm in dragon form and I waited till you always want to try to get level 6 by the time your catapult wave comes, because that is a really prime time to push. And so what I'm doing is I'm keeping the wave back as much as possible so that, you know, the next waves will come through and I can keep the catapult alive. Because if I push the wave really quickly, then the catapult would have walked up by itself to the tower and died, and you know, only gotten maybe 1 or 2 hits off. And that's not what I want. I want the catapult to last as long as possible, do as much damage as possible. And you know, occasionally, well, if possible, I will tank the tower for my wave in mid lane if I'm, you know, have quite a bit of health and not concerned about ganks, that kind of thing. I will tank the tower. And again, the reason is we're just trying to take mid tower as soon as possible. We want to get our team that gold, and we want to kind of create that despair in the enemy team, knowing that they lost their mid tower so quickly, and making the enemy mid feel more vulnerable, and you know, maybe even force them into the jungle faster. So actually, I just want to point out something I did there. This is now the I don't think I'm in dragon form, but what you might have noticed there is that I prepped the creep, the ranged creep, by hitting it a few times and then using my Breathe Fire. The reason I did that is so basically to avoid the possibility that the enemy could ever deny the ranged creep, because as any good mid laner will know, you really do not want to be losing your range creep to a deny. That's where a lot of experience in the wave lies, and to keep getting your range creep denied will be a problem, and that will happen if you Breathe Fire on levels 2, 3, and 4 without first prepping it. And for level 2 Breathe Fire, I think you need to give it at least 2 last hits. For the others, I think you only need 1. And nevertheless, you do need to be careful with that Breathe Fire. So anyway, was able to get the tower. I think that might have been from the poison damage. You want to be really careful when killing the tower. If you think that they're going to glyph, you want to make sure that they glyph before it's in deny range, so that when the glyph leaves, and assuming you have to go back, then they won't be able to deny it. Instead, you want to try to get the tower right at the point where it's right out of their deny range, but still as low as possible. And let's see, at this point, Sniper and I both TP in there, which is unfortunate to kill that wave. I wouldn't have TP'd in there if I knew that he was going to. So now at this point, I'm basically just really concerned about getting my armlet. That's basically my next goal, now that I've taken the mid tower and Storm is not farming as well. And by the way, you don't have to leave mid lane. Like if the wave is still, up here, I would recommend you keep farming that rather than going into the jungle. Certainly if you have leverage over the mid, you want to take advantage of that. So he does have a slight level advantage, but if we go to... Yeah, he has a slight last hits advantage at 10 minutes. Basically, we were even though. So I used Dragon Form here, I think primarily to farm. I forget, something might have been going on up top that I thought I might need it for, but at the earlier levels, if you're not going to do heavy pushing, you can use Dragon Form. Sorry. If you're not doing heavy pushing and you know that the enemy is not going to engage, they're not going to, your team's not going to have a big team fight, then it's okay to use Dragon Form to farm. So that poison damage does actually make quite a bit of difference. And what you want to do is just keep alternating between hitting the different creeps, and that way you can apply your poison damage to all of them in a particular camp, and that way their health collectively will reduce much faster than if you just focused one at a time. Okay, so here we're just continuing to farm, and I decided to go into Dragon Form to a little bit of an intimidation factor. Well, in this case that results in Storm Spirit's death. At this point right here, I think, yeah, I don't know, Techies might have been able to kill me there if he had actually done his, if he had been a little bit more on top of it and done his blast off. But anyway, part of the reason I went into Dragon Form is I knew I wanted to farm those Serpent Wards as soon as it was possible, so I got quite a few of those, got quite a bit of gold. And I didn't do it. I thought I would alternate hits on that camp, and I didn't. But anyway, I'm just using Breathe Fire to farm, getting level 12. And yeah, unfortunately there's always been a bug with DK's cosmetics and replays where if you do any kind of manipulation with the timeline, it'll get rid of his actual model, so sorry about that. Anyway, I have Dragon and Form level 2 and my armlet, so, and all this by 13 minutes, so we're in very good shape, I would say. And I think I'm going to pop Dragon Form here. So again, you can be pretty liberal with using Dragon Form in the early stages of the game like this, because in this case what's going to happen is they know I pop Dragon Form, so it's kind of like balls in their court. Are they going to do something about it? This push, and they are. And actually, let me slow this down and let's go back and watch this a little bit more slowly. Let's see if we can get the camera to not screw up. Okay, there we go. Alright, so yeah, here's the thing. Ball's in their court. They know that I can take the tower really fast. And they have to decide, do we want to stop this? Do we want to stop this push? So they're going to bring all their guys up. Even if we back off, it's okay that I'm in dragon form because I can just go, farm. I can just go farm really quickly with my splash damage. And I'm not real worried about them pushing. We've already lost that tower, so that's kind of why I turned on the dragon form preemptively there rather than waiting. Like, I wanted to bait them out. I wanted to create something. And interestingly, they decide to pursue us. I guess all of them are there. Yeah, all of them are there, so it's actually 5 versus 4, so okay, makes sense on their part. And Storm goes in the back lines, and I get silenced, so I can't... I forget who I dragon-tailed earlier. But anyway, Storm's just way out of position there, so he's gonna die. Big thing though is how quickly I'm killing them. Like, if you see how much damage I'm doing between Armlet and yeah, basically just because of Armlet I'm doing a huge amount of damage. I think an Armlet, at this point of the game is increasing my damage by something like 75 to 80%, so it's almost like having a double damage rune. And that's why I'm a huge fan of Armlet. It's just an incredible amount of punch at this point in the game, and that's really what you need to snowball with DK. You just need to be the biggest, baddest dude on the map. And that's how I play DK. Just try to get really big, really fast, be way more powerful than their carries so that they can't really stop you. And next up I'm going to get a BKB, and once I have that, if I have a fast BKB by like 20 or 21 minutes, that'd be a pretty good time. I can just walk down lanes with my team and take towers, take tier 2s, no problem whatsoever. And if the enemy goes on us, then I'll just pop BKB and crush them. That's my preferred playstyle with DK. What's the point of farming with a hero that can't farm that fast unless he commits his ult? I guess you can think of it as something like, do you want to be a badass now or a badass later? Well, with DK, I'd rather just be a badass now before their carries can do much of anything. So there, I was able to get another stack off, and I will farm that when Dragon forms back up. I saw that he placed a ward there, and fortunately my Dark Willow was actually very, very competent. I'm pretty certain that I commended her after this game. She did a very good job. She actually supported, which is not something you see a lot in this MMR. You see supports playing very greedily because they don't trust their cores or whatever, or just because they're bad and don't understand the role. Anyway, here I am taking stacks, and there were Prowler Shamans there. I don't know if I did it, but sometimes I will stun the Prowler Shaman so it doesn't root me. But I will also always use a Breathe Fire, at least to reduce their damage. So between the Breathe Fire and your Dragon Blood, you're going to be taking very little damage from Ancients, even if it's a very large stack. And that's why DK is really good at farming Ancients, so he doesn't really need any help. Okay, so they decide to disengage, and I didn't even have my dragon form up. I just wanted to run down there and make my presence known, so that they would back off. Because I actually did not want to fight. So I ran down there, kind of indicating that I did, but I didn't. It was just purely a psychological tactic. Because, I mean, they don't know whether I have dragon form up. Anyway, so I get way too close here. There was absolutely no reason for me to be that close. I should have just waited till we put another ward down, or till creeps went up on that ledge. So anyway, whatever, I'm going to just go through here and I'm going to farm more. By the way, got the mana regen talent. It's very good on DK. People really did not recognize how good it was because it was overshadowed by the plus 30 damage talent that he had for a while, but that just got removed last patch. So now we have, or got removed in 7.10, got replaced by the damage reduction talent, which would boost your damage reduction up to 45%. That's a very good talent, but it's not that good this game because I mean, we only have 2 heroes that right click, but Storm isn't super reliant on right clicking, and Jug is reliant on right clicking. The problem is he can purge the debuff with his back up. He can purge the debuff with his Q. So anyway, here I push again and I'm forcing a team fight, and that's what you want to do with DK. You want to force team fights. So Dark Willow got off a good fear. I hit those other 2 guys a bunch of times, and notice what's happened is their team is now split up. And the Brewlings are here together, and I'm going to do a lot of damage to the Brewlings because of my splash damage. So we can increase this. Notice the other 2 heroes that I just pushed out, they're finally back here in the fight. Jug is trying to kill me and completely failing. Like I said, Jug does basically no damage to DK once you hit the mid game. And Storm runs in and is very out of position. So yeah, this fight is over. We're dealing way more damage. I have not even used my BKB. There's no reason to. There's no point in this fight where I felt threatened or like I was going to be disabled and unable to be of use. And that's typically when you use BKB. It's not necessarily when you're worried about taking damage, magic damage, because you have a decent amount of health. You can tank a bit of magic damage. Usually you're going to pop BKB when it's going to stop you from right clicking or stop you from using your spells. So typically I'm trying to wait for that moment where, oh, I see a stun flying at me, or I realize I'm going to get hit by Kunkka's boat, or something like that. I'm waiting for something to happen. I don't just turn on BKB because, hey, I'm in a fight. That's how you just waste BKB charges. Okay, let's crank up the speed again. But again, I really want to strongly emphasize that I've been focusing on my item timings, getting the BKB, then getting the armlet first by 15 minutes. Got it much faster than that. Then I focused on getting BKB, and the level 15 damage talent is another important power spike. And I don't think we do anything here. No, I blink in, and we're able to kill Jug. Yeah, the damage talent though is very good. That's a power spike for DK. So basically what happened is I had hit my power spike. This is so important. If you only take away one thing from this video, when we pushed up top, I had hit probably the biggest power spike for DK in the game, assuming you hit your timings at a you know at a reasonable rate. I had armlet, I had BKB, I had my damage talent, I had all of that by, I don't know what it was, like 20 minutes or something. And so we, you know, let's push. I'm the most powerful hero on the map. Let's push. And by the way, if you look at the net worth, you see that I'm ahead of Jug and Storm, and I think I have been the entire game, whereas my team's quite a bit further behind. So I'm powerful. Let's push. Let's force a team fight. And that's exactly what happened. I mean, that is just textbook. What happened up there, that is textbook winning games with DK. You get big, you get powerful, you force the team fight. They go on you. They don't understand your strength. They don't grasp your strength. And, it's a lose-lose for them. If they don't engage, they lose towers. You get reliable gold. Your team gets that reliable gold. If they do engage, you destroy them in a team fight. It's a lose-lose situation for them, and that's the kind of situation you want to create when you're playing Dragon Knight. And obviously, this is all dependent on you hitting your timings, not falling behind in lane, not dying too much in lane. Okay, so this is a really awkward situation. I thought he was gonna stomp, so I just walked away. And he doesn't stomp. And Invoker misses his tornado. So we do kill him, but it was just, it was really awkward. I should have just, right-clicked him. But anyway, it kind of works out because it baits them into fighting, and Storm runs in like I don't know what he was thinking. He runs in, and like I said, he gets dragon-tailed, and as soon as Storm gets dragon-tailed, he usually dies, unless he's really, really, really far ahead. You notice that I popped BKB. I cannot give you a good reason why I did that. That was just a poor play on my part. I am level 18, so I have my my Frost Breath, which is kind of like an Eye of Scotty, almost like a free Eye of Scotty on DK. Doesn't give you stats, but still gives you that attack and move speed slow. And so Jug was spinning, he was spell immune, but the Frost Breath actually pierces spell immunity. So he was moving a lot slower as a result, and we were able to get off those right clicks and kill him. So anyway, we're just going to go high ground now and pull out a buyback. I don't have my dragon form anymore, so I'm just telling everyone on my team, guys, let's back out. We don't need to do anything else. Just please back. And here I should have my treads on agility or intelligence, because that way I would regen faster, so that was a little bit of a mistake on my part. You will notice, well, I don't know how much it's been apparent, but I do tread switch quite a bit whenever I'm using spells. It's really important to... So there I just did it right before I breathe fired on that. I soul ringed while I was still in strength. Then I switched to intelligence, then I breathe fire, then I switched back to strength. And that was all done for, that specific reason, that, you want to have as much health as possible when you use Soul Ring, and you want to have as much mana as possible when you use your spells, and that's how you improve your mana usage. And there you go, I stunned the Prowler Shaman. Actually, it's good to have the armlet on when you use Soul Ring as well, and then you can turn it off immediately afterward if you want. So I got also the 2x Dragon Blood talent. That's very, very roughly, I don't want to say it's not like an Assault Cuirass, but it's basically the reason why you don't see people getting Assault Cuirass on DK a lot anymore, unless the entire team really needs that aura. or unless the enemy team has Silver Edge, in which case your passive is getting broke. But basically, with that talent, you have so much armor that it's really not useful to have an Assault Cuirass. Just the way armor works in Dota, the more armor you have, when you get additional armor, it's not as impactful. So instead, I go for an SNY. And by the way, you also notice I got Blink. That's so I can get the jump on, well, right here. You know, Techies, or get the jump on Storm, or get the jump on Shadow Shaman, something like that, and just pop my BKB, kill that support, kill Storm or whatever real quickly. But yeah, you will see usually people getting Shadow Blade or Blink. Definitely advantages to each, which I discuss in my guide, which you should check out. Sometimes you also see Hurricane Pike. Anyway, right now, I know that the entire team is in here, but I don't, or in here somewhere, but I don't really care. Oh, I was wrong, Storm's down there. But I don't really care. I'm not worried about dying whatsoever. So I just keep farm that camp. You know, it could possibly be 3 versus 4, but that's okay. I know that I'm so much bigger than all of them. Okay, so here they're kind of forced to engage. Something happened, and right here is where I'm going to pop my BKB. And the reason I'm going to pop it there is that that's the moment where they're like looking and they're ready to use disables or something like that, or you know, Shaman's ready to use disables. And I pop it so Shaman can't disable me, and I'm able to get off a ton of right clicks. Jug's Omni Slash is worthless. I'm not even concerned about that. Not even thinking about that. So Storm gets away because he has Lincolns, but that's okay. I just blink back in, and they've grouped up, and my splash damage does a ton of damage, and then Storm has no mana left when he goes on me. Don't think he would have killed me even if he had another Remnant. I might have been able to armlet toggle through this. And that's one unfortunate thing about this game, is that there's no good examples of armlet toggling. Anyway, I blink at just the right time so one of Techie's mines doesn't kill me. And yeah, we get that Techie's kill. I'm almost to level 25, which means getting my plus 40 damage talent, which is definitely what I would want against a Techies. The additional stun duration is actually very good against heroes like Storm, but he has a Lincoln's, and I don't really want to rely on my team popping that first. So I'm just going to go with a talent that I'm certain is always going to be useful, and that would be plus 40 strength, which is going to give me more damage, more tankiness, more status resistance. It's just really, really good. Very, very strong talent. Okay, so my dragon form's up. I say, guys, you know, well, let's just back. We don't need to do anything fancy here. And sniper's out of position. I go in and able to kill Storm there. My dragon form is back up. And yeah, game is basically over. Jug could buy back, but what's Jug going to do against me? How's Jug going to stop my push? So game is basically over at this point. Yeah, in fact, we just take their tier 4s, kill the Ancient. So typically whenever I'm against a bunch of buildings like that, I'll, you know, much like with creeps, I'll alternate between hitting the different buildings to make sure I get the poison damage on all of them. A little bit of efficiency there. Anyway, So take the Ancient, and what I want to point out is just how far ahead in net worth I am compared to everyone else. And my team had very, very poor. My other carries had very, very poor uh, net worth. So as you can see, I've almost doubled everyone on my team in terms of net worth, except the Invoker, and have vastly more GPM than them. Yes, Sniper has really pretty pathetic items. And then likewise, way ahead of everyone else on the other team is in terms of net worth. So big takeaways from that game is just you want to play it safe in the lane if you're worried about roamers, but in that game I was not. You want to just stack ancients when you can. You want to try to hit your item timings, I guess is the big thing. Hit your item timings. Hit that 15-minute armlet, 15 minutes at the absolute latest. And then try to hit that 21, 22, 23-minute BKB. That's at the latest. Ideally you want to get it like 20, 21 minutes. And get that level 15 damage talent as much as you can. And yeah, just focus on hitting your timings, then push objectives. Once you know you've hit your power spike, which is by the time you're like between level 15 and 18, and you have your BKB, your armlet, all that, you want to push with your team, and you want the enemy to try to initiate on you. Well, it doesn't matter if they don't initiate on you; they've lost tower, and if they do, then you're going to turn on them. You're going to wait for that precise timing to hit your BKB, and you're just going to crush them. And those are pretty. This game was a great example of all that happening and how you can basically solo carry your team pretty easily with a Dragon Knight as a result. So if you have any questions, feel free to ask them. Please subscribe, and thanks for watching.